The story begins in Imperial City, where there was a mysterious purgatory thunder appeared that panicked everyone and destroyed everything in their surroundings. Most of them were affected and wounded. A man with green hair, wearing a cloak, spoke to someone he called Lord Magister. He said that the demon race's offensive is too vicious, and they can't hold back any longer. You, be at ease. If it's up to me, the demons absolutely won't carry on. The Lord answered. He was LvL, the chief magister of the Imperial Court. He was staring at their demon enemy named Mazoku in front of them, who ironically smiled and belittled him by telling him that his Imperial heroes collapsed at the first blow. Most of LvL's comrades were lifeless and some were suffering from severe injuries. Attack however you like, we can regain flesh anew with our instant self-healing magic. There's just no chance for the lowly mankind, Mazoku stated. LvL agreed that ordinary attacks couldn't hurt Mazoku, but one thing he was very sure of was that a self-sacrificing offensive could destroy his enemy. LvL removed his cape as he was ready to cast the skill to save everyone. Mazoku was smiling evilly, but he was sweating while giving a piece of advice to LvL not to force himself. He was very sure that he could still recover no matter how powerful LvL's attack is. He was flying above while LvL was just below him. A golden light emerges the moment LvL activates his self-sacrificing offensive technique. A strong explosion happened and the Magister's comrades were wondering if LvL successfully defeated Mazoku. But then, Mazoku's hand comes out from the ground, and he guffaws while stating that LvL's little suicide bombing is all for naught. He gained small scratches on his face and body while he was spitting blood. He was very confident that he was still strong, and the people around him were sad to think that the demon race's self-recovery ability was too strong. Mazoku activates his magic power to heal himself while confidently saying that his body will recover to its original state after a while, and it will be LvL's inevitable hour now. His other arm was cut off when LvL attacked him a while ago, but he was shocked to see that it hadn't regenerated after trying to heal it. LvL then said that the Mazoku finally noticed the effect of the self-detonation. According to him, from this self-detonation that's exhausted all his life force, also comes the power of the curse. Henceforth, the entirety of demonkind will be unable to recover with magic. Mazoku was dumbfounded upon hearing it, and he realized that he underestimated his opponent this time. He cannot accept the fact that he will be defeated, so he screamed so loud out of disappointment. It turned out that it was only an online game and Demon Mazoku was the character of our story protagonist. He was screaming so loud after being defeated again. He was currently at the Jiang City inside Old John's office of Chinese medicine. He was sweating while still trying to revive his game character, but he's unable to heal it with magic. Since he cannot heal his character, he throws his PSP on the table with anger on his face. Our story protagonist is Huang He, a 30-year-old well-known doctor of Chinese medicine. But now in their day and age, people who have fallen ill only consult with doctors at big hospitals. That is, only elders from the street come to his clinic once in a while. Despite that he's already 30 years old, he doesn't have a girlfriend yet and can't put his medical skills to good use, which upsets him. He dropped his PSP on the floor while saying that his life was a failure. He glanced at his device and it congratulated him for winning an opportunity to become a Grand Magister. There are options to accept or decline. At the same time, he was hoping to have a chance to restart his life. On the other hand, a lady suddenly opened his clinic's door. "Excuse me, are you Huang He?" the lady asked. She was Zhen Yaoqing, the president of the Zhen Group. She was smiling slightly while staring at Huang He, waiting for his answer. Huang He was sweating the moment he saw the lovely lady in front of him. He then said that he was Huang He, and for him, the lady in front of him is the person appeared to be the beautiful president of the Zhen family group. He was shocked when the lady bowed down to pay respect to him. "Lord God Doctor, and unaware, you're actually a successor to the ancient God Doctor family. You must be taken into society by your family, then follow the master to practice medical virtues," she stated. She also added that the 30-year observation period has come to a close and Huang He accomplished his medical skills, so he now requested to return to his family to inherit tens of billions in family fortunes and marry Yaoqing. Huang He was dumbfounded at this moment, and he smirked thinking that this moment finally come to his life. The lady asks him to return to his family and Huang He accepts it in an instant, since this kind of good thing for him only happens in novels, and declining it will only make him a fool. At this time, his PSP creates an azure light and asks his attention. The device detected his voice when he uttered "I accept" a while ago, and because of it, the device declared that Huang He accepts the proposal to become a Grand Magister and he will now cross over. The PSP started a countdown and both Huang He and Yaoqing rattled upon hearing it. After the count, the PSP pulled him in and when he successfully entered, the game instantly began. He was currently at the C-rank dungeon, a despairing secret area. Holy flame, steel slashing flash. A man screamed. This man was holding a long sword and wore a cape. He gained numerous experience points after killing several monsters. He was smiling proudly while the people around him were impressed to see how talented he was. The people called him Master Anima, and Anima was thrilled hearing the crowd state that this kind of dungeon was just an easy task for him. There was also a pink-haired lady with them who told them all that everyone should remain cautious since they were currently at the elite ranking dungeon after all. She believes that the previous zombies they have fought were mere bait to make them lower their guards. A man misunderstood what she said and even accused her that she looked down Anima. According to him, Anima is a very cunning strategist. By just the age of 24, he was both an imperial noble and a magic swordsman. Anima's body carries the holy flame words with a holy light attribute, making him the bane to all beings within this dungeon. You tell me, how could the great and powerful Anima fret at such trivial creatures? He angrily said. Hearing all his words makes Anima thrilled and so proud of himself. At this point, a lady necromancer appeared and everyone glanced at her. She had a cross sign at the top of her breast and a skull on her hair that was sparkling. She's the third floor boss of the Despairing Secret Area, a level 35 master necromancer named Alice. Then let's see how the great and powerful measures up to a necromancer's power, she stated. Anima was observing her and he said that throughout Alice's body, she exudes an aura of death, simply above those irrelevant weapons, which wouldn't compare. At this time, Alice activates Necromantic and the humans are terrified, expecting that she's a strong necromancer. Alice kicked Anima using her slipping spade technique, but she didn't even hit Anima. Anima then seized the opportunity and attacked her using Holy Flame Pierce, and Alice was screaming so loud seeing her cape burning. Anima's two companions were dumbfounded seeing a weak dungeon boss. They confirmed that this dungeon isn't worthy of Anima at all. Alice was already annoyed and told himself to get things serious. She started summoning her minions, Necrotic Frenzy, and several appeared, surrounding all the players. Foolish mankind, drown in a wave of undead, Alice said. Anima smiled knowing that it would be quick and easy to kill all these zombies since they were all level 1. He held tight to his sword and activated his Holy Flame skill, obliterating slash and attacking it to the zombies. The zombies' blood splattered around and all of them were killed, which makes Alice shocked and panicked. She suddenly cried and accepted the fact that she failed to defeat her enemies. She has lost 6 times against the adventurers this current month and she was so hopeless to achieve Lord Dungeon Master's given merits. After Anima eliminated the zombies, the pink-haired lady saw one remaining zombie who wasn't wiped out. The zombie's eyes were flashing while he was covered with a cloud of smoke from the area. Impossible. My holy flame sword surely killed all undead mobs. What are you in the end? Anima asked in confusion. It turned out that this zombie was Huang He, who successfully crossed over in the game. He panicked as he realized that he crossed over only to become a zombie, and he asked himself if the protagonist's path to becoming a Grand Magister be so smooth. Huang He was quivering in fear and confusion. He was so disappointed to cross over into this world at the moment he could have married the most perfect lady for him, Yaoking, and inherited tens of billions in fortunes. The system appeared and said that Huang He had chosen to become a Grand Magister and had already crossed into the game world. Huang He complains and asks the system to send him back to the real world, but the system informs him that the main objectives have not been completed, thus returning to his initial world is impossible. While he was panicking, Anima was staring at him in confusion, asking what he was doing. What's the main objectives? How can I return? Huang He asked while crying. As per the system, if he wants to return to his original world, there are 2 means by which to do so. First, he should fulfill the main objective and become the strongest Grand Magister in the game world. Second, if he dies in the game, the mission will be deemed a failure and he will be sent back to his original world. The second option makes Huang He realizes to put himself to death so he can return to his world as soon as possible. While he was thinking, the pink-haired lady wondered why Huang He, the remaining zombie, suddenly stopped moving. She was worried that Huang He might have a big surprise move, but the man with her told her not to worry since Huang He is just a level 1 zombie. Still, the lady was hesitant as he saw that Huang He blocked Anima's all-out attack earlier. It was just a fluke. Young Master Anima's next strike will definitely reach him, the green-haired man stated. Anima agreed with him and said that a fluke only ever happens once. Despite that he looks confident, deep down of him was worried while thinking about how Huang He resists his holy flame attack. And this time, he planned to hit Huang He with all his strength. Person over there called Anima, hurry up and kill me, Huang He stated. He doesn't want to play this game as a level 1 zombie and level up into the strongest Magister. What he wants is to be killed by Anima and return to his original world. Because of what he just said, Anima felt insulted as he claimed that Huang He, a trifling low-level zombie, dared to provoke him. In that case, let me appease you well, Anima said while holding his sword and casting a power to attack Huang He. Huang He challenged him more, and without any words, Anima attacked him using a holy flame perpetual slash skill. This flame was so powerful and Huang He was hit by it. He was bleeding, but he didn't care since the only thing on his mind was to return to his original world, marry a fair-skinned, rich, and beautiful lady, then inherit 10 billion in fortune. After the powerful attack struck him, he plopped on the ground, but he didn't die at all. He was still fully intact, and he was so mad to see himself still alive. As per the system, Huang He is of the zombie race, with 99% immunity to physical attacks, a corpse serving as the remains of the unusual protagonist, and 99% magic resistance. After seeing him still alive, Alice chuckled and carried Huang He while saying that this was the true strength of a master necromancer. While Alice carried Huang He was thrilled as he was so close to the lady's breast and could smell it. There's something strange about this single zombie, let's retreat first, the pink-haired lady said. But then, Anima pushed her and ordered her to back off. Today, I must make you understand the aftermath of offending this young master, Anima said. He raised his sword while activating his holy flame possession. The green-haired man was so excited to see Anima's special skill. He heard that Anima once used this trick before and slew monsters 10 levels higher than him. In addition, this move consumes enormous mana, so the pink-haired lady was worried, thinking if Anima could really carry on. While Anima possesses the skill, Huang He recalls that this trick is more than triples that user's power, so he believes that he will be dead this time. He comes down on the floor while waiting for Anima to attack him once more. Alice beside him was confused after seeing him willing to be killed. Anima dashed going toward Huang He, and Huang He just stood and said, "Kill me. That is if you're capable." Because of what he said, Alice becomes emotional as she believes that her one last zombie would actually sacrifice for her sake. At the same time, she was thinking that she might have upgraded her summoning skills unconsciously. "Little zombie, let this young master open your eyes to what they widely call hell," Anima uttered while swinging his sword. He successfully slashes Huang He with his true holy flame, but then, it only leaves a little scratch on Huang He's body. He was only deducted 3 points of his health, and he was annoyed while saying that Anima's damage is so small. Anima was already sweating. He was also annoyed and said that he would now bring out his full power. He attacked Huang He once more using his true holy flame, but only deducted 2 points of Huang He's health. "How could you even think to conquer the dungeon with such a small effort?" Huang He angrily asked. Then Anima answered that this is only the beginning. Anima attacked Huang He several times, but he still dealt a little damage against Huang He. Huang He let Anima attack him, and he ended up feeling disappointed for receiving small damages from Anima. Anima's comrades were just staring at them, and they were confused about how a level 1 zombie hard to be killed. After hitting Huang He numerous times, Anima felt tired and panting heavily. At this point, Huang He's health is too little, so Anima believes that he can now finally finish Huang He off. Huang He then orders him to continue, and Anima grits his teeth while holding his sword and casts a truly holy flame sword. Huang He was smiling widely, thinking that he could now go back to his original world. Unfortunately, Anima's sword got broken the moment he swung it to Huang He. He was able to hit Huang He, but as per the system, the weapon's durability is 0, and thus it's automatically damaged. The sharp part of the sword plopped on the ground, and Anima's comrades witnessed what happened. Huang He at the same time was so upset as he was really hoping to die and go back to his world. The system then notified that he was slashed in succession 1,000 times, and was awarded the hidden title Tempered. The title's effect automatically restores 100 HP per second. Instead of being glad, he was annoyed and punched Anima to tell him to hit him a few more times, as he was afraid that his health would be full again. But then, Anima was already trembling in fear as he believed that Huang He was indeed a real monster, different from the mobs he fought before. "This guy is a monster. I wanna go home," he screamed while running away. While he was leaving, his comrades were calling him and asked him not to leave them. They all then run away and follow Anima, and the green-haired man gives a warning to Huang He to wait for their master Anima to recover, so he will be defeated. Huang He was staring at them leaving the place, and he was so confused and didn't know how to react, knowing that he was only a level 1 but unbeatable zombie. Anima was running as fast as he could, and he was crying so loud while screaming that there was a monster. At the same time, Alice's saliva dropped as she had just woken up after a deep nap. "Is it over already?" she asked. But then, she saw Huang He crying so much and complained about the characters in this game who were so weak for not being able to defeat him despite that he was only a puny monster. Huang He stood and glanced at Alice. He blames Alice for summoning him, and he believes that Alice can bring him back to his world. Just as you summoned me out here, hurry up and send me back," he said while jerking the lady. Alice pushed him away and said that the strongest zombie she had ever summoned was Huang He, so she wanted Huang He to deter invading adventurers hereafter, and she wouldn't set Huang He free to return. Huang He then walked away while saying that he would seek a solution to dying away by himself since Alice wouldn't help him. Alice tries to stop him by commanding him to say, but Huang He didn't want to listen to her. "For going so fast to ignore you ladies' direct orders. Don't blame me for being uncivil," Alice uttered. She then controlled Huang He to stop from walking, and Huang He at the same time was confused as he could not move his body. Alice went to him and informed him that the indeed summoned out by her had to obey her command. So from now on, she wants Huang He to behave himself and help the lady vanquish the adventurers. She poked Huang He's cheeks and showed how happy she was that one of her summoned undead was only a level 1 zombie, yet so powerful and with unconsciousness of his own. Above all, she was thrilled to see Huang He so furry and lovable, unlike her stupid-looking masses of zombies. She was hugging and squeezing Huang He, and Huang He tried to pull himself from the lady's arm. But then, a part of him was thrilled to smell Alice's fragrance. Alice gained a wound on her arm and she suddenly felt pain and realized that the holy flame sword of anima just a moment ago caused too much damage to her. Huang He feels pity for her, so her offered to treat the lady since he was a doctor in real life. Alice thought that Huang He was just joking around, and she explains that the demon race was sealed off their healing abilities as really as a millennium ago. She's guessing that for this kind of wound, it will take 20 years to recover. Huang He then told her that what she said was not necessarily true. She then pulled Alice's cape, which startled the lady, and covered herself with her arms. "I am but the god Dr. Huang He uttered while holding a needle. He then pierced both needles into Alice's shoulder, and after that, Alice felt more comfortable this time since the severe pain was fading away. Huang He gets a small knife and states that relief is only the first step, and what comes next is the real priority. He excises the skin and flesh, which is already scorched, then releases the poisoned blood corroded by the holy flame. Lastly, he applied the common household medicinal herbs and bandaged the wound well. The lady was surprised as she felt better and could now move her arm. And Huang He told her that he would prescribe a few decoctions later to accelerate Alice's healing so the lady would fully recover within 10 days. As per Alice, the demon race's regeneration ability has truly been sealed, yet Huang He dealt with it in a short while and allowed her condition to change for the better. "Are you truly one of my summoned monsters? You have nothing in common with the garbage horde of zombies I just called out?" she asked. And Huang He said yes. He chose to lie as he believes that he can't just say that he skies through reality. "It's definitely that summoning skill upgraded. Now you can summon me. Let's not speak of these things, and I'll give you a massage first," he added. The lady was confused while Huang He smiled at her and prepared his hands. He then started massaging Alice's back, and Alice was sweating and screamed a little. She was so confused about what Huang He was doing with her that she felt an eclectic shock. She was drooling and sweating heavily when she felt that her body was very light, and her entire person easily fluttered. When Huang He's done, Alice felt aroused. Huang He smiled as he was satisfied to massage the lady with their Huang family's osteopathic massage, a massage that isn't something the average person can withstand. In addition, he also pierced Alice's lethargic acupoint with a needle, and because of it, the lady passed out. He widely smiled with his tongue out and said that Alice could not hinder his path to courting death this time. He was so thrilled while thinking that he could now get his 10 billion fortunes and marry Yaoking. He ran away and left the place as he planned to look for an adventure that can be able to kill him. He was running as fast as he could, and later then he realized that he was at the cliff. It was too late for him as he had already fallen while thinking about how could there be a cliff at the entrance of the cave. Despite that he was scared, he told himself that this might help him die faster. "Allow my return to the original world," he screamed, and there were monsters below who heard him and glanced at him in confusion. Huang He fell to the ground and he ended up breaking the ground. His other foot was cut and his blood splattered while his health was already too little. He gets up in disappointment seeing that there's only a little life left, and unlucky for him that he was regenerated instantly. He then glanced at all the monsters and asked them to attack him. The 3 monsters in the area were whispering, wondering about what happened to Huang He's mind. They also knew Alice and they were sure that Huang He was one of Alice's men. They all walk away since they don't have any plans to kill their co-monster, and while they are leaving, Huang He is asking them to come back and not to ignore him. Still, no one dares to listen to him. He sat on the ground and decided to sew his leg so he could walk. "Since none of you will take the initiative in striking me down, I'll do it myself," he uttered. He opened the system to check what skill he could use to knock himself out. After checking, he saw many of his abilities. As per the system, Huang He's body has an extraordinary bonus, with the natural ability to use all the skills in the game. This itty-bitty teddy bear body, why does it have so many bonuses? He said with disappointment. He shook his head while telling himself not to be bothered about how many abilities he had but instead focused on using all these to seek death. He started by using his secret Purgatory Thunder skill, but after trying it, nothing happened. He was so confused as to why the skill couldn't be sent out if the system said that all magic arts were in his arsenal. The system then informs him that using the skill requires him to consume the corresponding mana points value. His current mana is full and he was so furious while asking about why dying in the game was so easy before, but such a frustration now that he crossed over. He couldn't hold his emotions anymore, so he started crying without knowing that there were ferocious dogs behind him. I should seek out another method of drying, he said. At the same time, there's a liquid dropping on his head and he was shocked as he thought that it was raining in the dungeon. But then, when he glanced above, he saw the ferocious dogs who were drooling at him. He was startled at first knowing that these monsters were actually the infernal three-headed dog, a level 25 elite monster who can get a critical hit when attacking. The dog was growling and swallowed Huang He. Huang He was glad to think that he could now finally die. Shockingly, the dog's tooth suddenly crushed. Huang He was still in his mouth, but because of the pain, he let go of Huang He, which made Huang He mad. "Why do you stop? Hurry up and keep gnawing on me," Huang He angrily said. The system notification suddenly dinged and it says that he caused damage while defending for the first time, and gained the passive skill, Study Skin. When the player is attacked, the enemy will receive a backlash of 1% damage. Huang He was annoyed to see some useless skills still adding up, but at least this one doesn't restore health. Behind him is the dog who suddenly hardly stomped the ground, which makes Huang He fly away, and surrounded with a purple flame. Huang He recalls that this skill is the infernal three-headed dog's unique skill. It not only manipulates the enemy but also renders tremendous damage. Huang He was just waiting to receive damage, and since he remained unharmed, he asked the triple-head dog to light up the temperature as it was insufficient for him. The three monsters a while ago were aware that Huang He was being attacked by the wolf, and they claimed that Huang He had such a high fire resistance. By this, they conclude that Alice's level has increased again. But then, the brown monster is hesitant to believe it as it could be a mutation. That's all just trivial. The problem at hand is that the three-headed dog is about to enter berserker mode, the purple monster uttered. While saying this, the three-headed dog is in the process of going berserk. The purple monster explained that the infernal three-headed dog will enter berserker mode under conditions where it's extremely wrathful. In this state, even overlord-level bosses would have to take caution in dealing with it. Huang He at the same time felt an unbelievable flame on his body. Since he hadn't seen it inside the game before, he wondered what skill the three-headed dog is using. The three-headed dog dashed toward him and used its Purgatory Scorching Gnash to attack him. In just one attack, Huang He was deducted 4,399 from his health. He spits blood while admitting the fact that the Berserker mode infernal three-headed dog is so strong for wiping 70% of his health in one blow. The three-headed dog still attacked him, and he was just calm and glad to see that his health was deducted an enormous amount. "That wasn't half bad just now, Master Dog. Bite me again or I'll be full of health," he said. But he was confused when he saw the dog wasn't moving at all. The dog's mouth suddenly bubbles and instantly dies. The system appeared to notify that Huang He had used the skill of Sturdy Skin to kill the internal three-headed dog. Because of it, he gained experience points which helped him reach level 2. Now, he gained an additional 120 points of health and 1 point on his mana. He was so disappointed, but he saw something dazzling on the ground which caught his attention. When he got near it, he saw a dog's tusk, and when he picked it up, the system confirmed that he had acquired the Purgatory Dog's Tusk. It has a passive effect of an additional 100 mana points. Supplements ordinary attacks with the Purgatory Raging Flames. He recalls the Purgatory Dog's Tusk is an important material for upgrading the Purgatory armor. But as fast as he's concerned, it looks absolutely useless to him. He then remembers something, and that the equipment also upgrades the MP value, and as long as he has suitable equipment, he can use stronger skills. The stronger the skills he has, the more of a chance it has of killing him. He chuckled as he was planning something. He glanced at the bush, and the three monsters were trembling since they overheard what he said. He runs to catch mobs to kill them all. The mobs all run away, and the purple one says that they should report to their Lord Dorothy that Alice's zombie has broken in. They ran so fast so Huang He wasn't able to catch them because of his wounded leg that he just gotten sewed on. Is there really no faster way to court death? He uttered with disappointment. He then opened the system and decided to use the power of the kills already at hand. He cast a small fireball skill and the fireball came from the sky and went down to him, but after seeing that it was too small, he felt so hopeless and said that his current skills were still too weak to kill himself. At this time, he turned his head around and glanced at the skill he cast. He was startled after seeing the fireball get so big and creates a huge explosion where he was standing. But still, he remained alive and was dissatisfied knowing that his fireball only deducted half of his health. All of a sudden, someone screamed from above and dropped to the ground. It was a topless lady with big breasts and an ass. She wore black underwear and she had a tail. This lady also had a horn and white hair. She suddenly grabbed and hugged Huang He, which made Huang He thrilled and wondered why he kept running into things like this after crossing over. One more thing, he asked if his 30 years of romantic luck be used here. At this moment, the lady glanced at her with a sincere look. She suddenly kissed Huang He with closed eyes, and Huang became thrilled and at the same time confused. He was sweating heavily and couldn't dare to move while thinking about what was going on. The lady widely opened her mouth to bite Huang He using her succubus bite. She was only forced to do it as she thought that Huang He was an intruder. She turned around with anger while Huang He was still thrilled behind her. This lady is the 5th floor boss of the Despairing Secret Area, a level 21 succubus, Dorothy. While she was standing beside Huang He, her minions came and were glad that she finally appeared. You don't need to worry so much. Though the intruded was very strong this time, it was defeated by me already, just as I'll defeat the remaining ones, Dorothy stated. But her minions told her that Huang He was not an intruder but just a little zombie who fell from the 3rd floor. Wait for me, Miss King. I'll return soon, inherit 10 billion in fortunes, and be together with you, Huang He uttered. Dorothy glanced at him and suddenly pulled her minions as she thought that her minions were having a jolly time for a zombie. She regrets using his succubus bite knowing that its cooldown is too long. In addition, kissing Huang He is her first kiss. She grabbed Huang He and Huang He called her sister. But then, Dorothy suddenly throws Huang He away while saying that she will settle this debt for getting her first kiss and force her to use her succubus bite with Alice sooner or later. She then walks away together with her minions while Huang He is calling her. You really want to leave without having killed me? Huang He asked. Dorothy was shocked to see Huang He still fine knowing that the target of her succubus bite attack should sink deep into a dream world forever. Huang He then told her that he wouldn't receive a beautiful woman's temptation so easily. Dorothy was contemplating things. She was thinking that Huang He, a mere zombie, made her expend so much effort and even dared to speak of resisting her temptation. She's willing to kill Huang He, right her, but her mana is exhausted, so there's no chance for her to kill Huang He even if she wants to. Are there stronger guys amongst you who can get on with disposing of me? Huang He asked, which confused Dorothy's minions. Dorothy then speaks and realizes that Huang He wants to get killed. Huang He confirmed it, and Dorothy then instructed him that there were 3 human adventurers nearby who will definitely have a way to get rid of him. Huang He gets excited and immediately runs while giving thanks to Dorothy for helping her. Dorothy smiled back at him, and when he was far away, Dorothy then asked his minion to notify the dungeon master for support since those adventurers she mentioned were currently too strong. Dorothy's aura becomes vindictive while saying that those adventurers will be the ones to kill Huang He for her. On the other hand, the current area of the human adventurers suddenly exploded, but it turned out that they were only catching monsters using explosions. There were a total of 3 monsters named Pit, the youngest of 3 dirty old brothers, a level 36 heavy armor combatant. The middle among the 3 is Sham, a level 40 fire magister. And lastly, Louis, the eldest among the 3, a level 39 witch hunter. As per Sham, it was because of Pit's reckless use of his great blaze explosion that Dorothy could flee. Pit then said that he also didn't expect Dorothy to have the strength to escape that sort of situation. That's enough nonsense from you all, let's hurry and find her, Louis said. Once I catch that succubus, I'll definitely treat her well, Pit said with an evil smile. They were about to walk away and search for Dorothy not until Huang He approached them. They're the invading human adventurers, Huang He asked. While he was talking with the humans, Dorothy was behind, who also became super vindictive as she was too excited to see Huang He torn to shreds with her own eyes. Sham was confused as to why there's a zombie appeared on this floor, knowing that zombies should be on the 3rd floor. Louis then said that it didn't matter and that they should get rid of Huang He quickly and continue their mission of catching Dorothy. At this moment, Huang He informed them that he would give them 2 options. The first option is to kill him off and be on their way, or the second, surrender all the mana boosting equipment they possess. The brothers were all silent after hearing a monster threaten them. They all suddenly laughed and belittled Huang He. Then, let me finish you off, Pit said with a powerful aura. He then struck Huang He using his divine judgment technique, and Dorothy silently cheered for the brothers to brutally kill Huang He. Huang He was deducted 2,333 health while the one who attacked him, Pit, was shocked to see him still alive. Pit suddenly fell on the ground and also received 2,333 health deduction. His two brothers run to him with worries and they assist Pit while wondering about what kind of magic Huang He used to actually injure Pit instantly. As per Pit, he doesn't have any idea what happened. The moment he struck Huang He's chest, he felt a surge of pain in his chest. At the same time, Huang He hopped back near them and said that Pit's firepower was so weak, so he suggested them to rather hand over the equipment. Since the brothers saw that physical attacks were ineffective against Huang He, Sham decided to use his magic power. He calls out the special equipment magic and attacks the flaming arrow light to Huang He. It was too powerful, which makes Sham confident and claims that he was an incredible man. He thought that using this magic skill of his is barely enough to deal with Huang He, but then Huang He was still able to stand and suddenly pulled Sham's magician staff. He turned around while saying that this staff is pretty good, so he should take it with him. You're obviously a zombie. How could you retain so much health after taking my fire magic? Sham asked in confusion while pointing his finger at Huang He. I don't know why, but my body seems to have 99% magic immunity. If you want to kill me with magic, you'll have to try something greater than that. Huang He answered. At the same time, Dorothy was staring at him and wondered if Huang He was really a strong zombie. After seeing how durable Huang He is, Sham becomes frightened and sweating in fear. He hides from his brother Louis's arm while saying that they should now leave this place. Up until this point, Louis won't believe that Huang He is a strong zombie, so he uses his arrow, and an azure light appears while pointing it to Huang He. He then attacked Huang He and a loud and huge explosion happened once again. Still, Huang He remained unharmed. The man was staring at him with an angry look while Huang He could sense that Louis' aura differed completely from his two brothers, so Huang He believed that Louis was much more stronger than the two. Huang He widely smiles and jumps while challenging Louis to kill him. Louis screamed in anger and arrows Huang He once more. He was able to hit Huang He's face and his arrow exploded for the second time. When the smoke disappeared, Huang He was still alive. He was so mad while hitting the arrow to remove his face and complained that Louis didn't have enough damage either. Louis then told him that he was just at the beginning. Huang He was thrilled, thinking that Louis might have a stronger attack. At this time, Louis arrowed the ground beside Huang He and there are vines started coming out. The vines wrap up Huang He's body and he recalled that this technique is called Pitfall Arrow Unleashed Hypertoxic Vines. As per Louis, this Pitfall Arrow was his own creation and carried a manipulation effect of unimaginable power. The vine became tall and was able to raise Huang He up. He was squeezed above and he felt so much tight, but after a few seconds, he complained to Louis that the damage was still too low. Louis was expecting that the damage of this vine should be enough to end Huang He's life because of its manipulation effect. Since Huang He wasn't affected, the three men chose to run away out of fear. Seeing them leave makes Huang He furious. If you can't kill me, just admit it. Don't waste the time I could have spent dying like this. He screamed angrily, which was heard by Dorothy. And the lady was confused about how a little zombie had actually thrown the three dirty old brothers' assault back at them. Since the brothers already left, Huang He was trying to get away from the vine, but it was getting tighter. At the same time, Dorothy concludes that Alice might have sent a powerhouse to the 5th floor to invade her territory. She was sweating while thinking things and shook her head around as she thought that Alice might get lots of credit for having an unbeatable zombie. Her eyes sparkled while she clenched her hands as she planned to make use of Huang He herself. She took a step going toward Huang He without seeing the vine on the ground. She called Huang He while waving her hand and Huang He rattled while giving her a warning about the vines. Dorothy glanced below her, but she was too late to react since the vines started to wrap up on her ass, going above her body to her breast. It was already around her body and there was some liquid splitting from it. At the same time, Huang He feels that he's nearly suffocated, but he instantly changes mood when he realizes that he's nearly suffocated to death. Let me borrow your appai, he said while rushing and slumping himself to Dorothy's huge breasts to suffocate himself. He was moving and moving, but he stopped when he deduced that zombies don't need to breathe. Dorothy at this time felt upset as she could not do anything since she was trapped, so her choice was to wait for the dungeon master to help her. When she glanced at Huang He, she was dumbfounded to see him trying to get out of the vine. Huang He forced himself to free from the vine as he didn't want to waste potential death moments. Hey, what are you doing? Dorothy asked after seeing Huang He activated a flame. Huang He is planning to burn the vines, but Dorothy is terrified as she is afraid that she will be burned too. Huang He ended up attacking himself with his own small fireball skill, and he successfully fell on the ground and freed himself. He was only deducted 2 points for his health, and he turned around while complaining that he wasn't in pain. Dorothy was staring at him and thought that it should be impossible for Huang He's a little zombie's health to recover, but seeing Huang He's health regenerated, she was thinking that Huang He might be an actual demon. Huang He suddenly turned back and walked toward Dorothy as he remembered that Dorothy was also trapped. He pulled out the vine and the lady was successfully freed from the vine. Thanks for telling me about the adventurers, but it's too bad they didn't have the strength to kill me, Huang He stated. Ah, of course, Dorothy answered. She was silent as she really didn't think those 3 brothers be unable to kill a mere zombie. While staring at her, Huang He noticed that she was wounded. Dorothy checked herself and saw a few scratches. She then said that there was nothing serious about her wounds as it would be healed after a decade. But then, Huang He went to her and started to check her wounds while saying that he hadn't thanked the lady well enough for what she tried to do for him, so he wanted to replay her by treating her wounds. Dorothy is staring at him speechless and thinks that Huang He is a demon who obviously can't take the initiative to treat an injury. And she concludes that there might be a bad intention behind Huang He's help. After a minute of checking, Huang He senses toxins from Dorothy's wounds. It looks like I can only rely on this method, he said, which confused the lady. He widely opened his mouth and sunk to Dorothy's wound on the leg. He was sipping the toxins and he immediately spit it out the moment he finally got it by his mouth. Dorothy didn't resist at all and she even felt comfortable. The next wound is on her breast, and before Huang He sips the toxins on the lady's breast, he informs her that he was only doing this for the sake of her health. While Huang He was sipping it out, the lady was moaning so loud which was heard by some monsters around. On the other hand, Huang He's master, Alice, had finally woken up from a long nap after Huang He betrayed her. At the same time, Huang He was done sipping out the toxins from Dorothy's wounds. He was wiping his mouth which had blood from the lady while the lady felt snug after Huang He treated her. She glanced at Huang He and asked if everything was fine now. Huang He gave him a thumbs up and said that everything was finished. He felt pure satisfaction after helping the lady, and he told her that she'll be fine as long as they apply common household herbal medicine next. The lady was surprised upon seeing her wounds slowly healed using the herbal Huang He had. According to her, their demonkind was definitely cursed with immunity to this world's recovery magic and herbal medicines, and she asked how Huang He in this world was able to achieve this kind of herbal. Huang He was sweating as he didn't want to tell the truth that the herbs he used weren't from this world. He then reasoned out that the curse Dorothy mentioned might already be weak, that's why he was able to treat her with some normal herbs. Dorothy at this point was doubting, knowing that Huang doesn't only have such a strong fighting capacity, but can also treat demons' injuries. She is staring at Huang He and believes that Huang He, a little zombie, is undoubtedly a treasure. Oh, how could I possibly thank you when you've saved me yet again? She asked while hugging Huang He. Huang He feels thrilled without knowing that Dorothy's real intention is to acquire him. She believes that as long as he acquires Huang He, her performance in defeating the adventurers will definitely skyrocket. Huang He at this point still sunk his face into Dorothy's breasts, and he suddenly asked permission to the lady if he could ask for anything. The lady said yes, and deep inside of her was glad that Huang He swallowed the bait. She was confident that Huang He would be a puppet under her as long as he was ensnared by her charm. What I wanted, for you to kill me, Huang He said, which confused the lady. He sighed and said that the adventurers were so unimpressive for not being capable of killing him. But he believes that there ought to be stronger characters among demonkind, so he wants Dorothy to contact some of them to come over and kill him. But why do you need to die? Dorothy asked, and Huang He honestly answered that his reason is for the incomprehensible idea of 10 billion in fortunes and a beautiful presidential wife. Dorothy slightly smiled and claimed that Alice's guys must be this dense as Huang He, but she believed that not only made things easier for him, but before anything like that, you have to help me defeat invading adventurers. Alice answered. She put her index finger on her lips and said, I bet you couldn't bear to see me get hurt again, right? She intentionally lowers herself so Huang He can see her breasts clearly. Huang He was stuttering and agreed to what Dorothy wanted. Dorothy then smiled as she successfully made a deal with Huang He. Both of them were startled the moment they heard a familiar voice. It was Alice, activating her necrotic spree while running, and claims that Dorothy is daring to snatch her own zombie. She jumped so high and hit Dorothy using her necrotic flying kick. She only dealt 9 damage, and Dorothy said that this was only what Alice started. She clasps Alice's foot and waves her left and right, which causes Alice to deduct a total of 600 of her health. She is able to knock out Alice in an instant, and seeing Alice pass out makes Huang He disappointed, and thinks of a reason why Alice becomes the 3rd floor lord. After a few minutes, Alice gets up and dares to proclaim that she is almost won against Dorothy. "Well, even if I couldn't beat you, number 132 is still the zombie I summoned," she said while pulling Huang He to her. Huang He, what the hell is 132? Huang He uttered in confusion. Alice then told him that he was the zombie she summoned in sworn 132, which is why he was called a zombie 132. Because of her reason, Huang He admitted that she really is a dumb lady. At this moment, Dorothy pulled Huang He and carried him on her shoulder. "So what if it was originally your summon? Such a powerful little zombie is wasted with the likes of you," she uttered. Huang He at the same time was so comfortable leaning on her breast since he could feel how soft it was. Since Huang He originally summoned the zombies, she was very sure that Huang He really belonged to her, so she asked Dorothy to let go of her zombie. But then, Dorothy told her that her little zombie had agreed to cooperate with her. Both of them were pulling Huang He while arguing with each other. Because of it, Huang He's body was torn and ended up flying above the ladies and was now cut in half. Huang He's head fell to the ground and the minions of Dorothy wondered what was happening now to their master. At the same time in Human Empire, King's City, Ardenheim, a man went to the Blood Moon Tavern and strongly opened the door. As he entered, he threw a red huge dragon inside which startled the people. The people knew that it was the level 75 Blaze Dragon Lord. They couldn't believe to see it in person as they never expected someone capable to slay it. The one who slain it approached the tavern vendor and he asked to get a more difficult task if it was possible. It was the Empire Star Crusader, a level 83, Edward von Carlson. As per the vendor, hunting the Blaze Dragon Lord is already the hardest mission here. Perhaps another tavern is more suitable for Edward. Edward then told him to forget about it and asked about the reward he should get after killing the Dragon Lord. Upon seeing him, the people inside the tavern were gossiping about him since some of them didn't know his identity. One man then said that Edward was the stronger bounty hunter in the Empire. He also heard that Edward always accepts tasks that involve hunting monsters and has never been defeated. At this time, Edward was disturbed when he heard someone screaming. It was Anima, together with his comrades, running and going inside the Blood Moon Tavern. "That beast is a terror," Anima uttered. He was sweating and still felt nervous. He then told his comrades that they should now hide as he was afraid that Huang He would catch them. But then, the green-haired man stopped him and asked him to calm down, knowing that they were now safe since they already arrived at the Human Empire. Edward then approached them and asked what was going on. The pin-haired lady explained to him everything that happened, and everyone inside the tavern was so loud that they couldn't believe that Anima was defeated by a low-level zombie. On the other hand, Edward becomes curious about it, and the pin-haired lady adds that not only is the zombie immune to physical damage, but even attacks don't hurt him. There were some people who wouldn't believe what the pink-haired lady said, so she told them that she wasn't lying at all since she witnessed it with her own eyes that Huang He was really too strong. Edward was just silent while trying to think things out. "Regardless of who it is, I'm ready to give whoever kills that zombie 1,000 gold coins," Anima declared. Edward becomes more interested upon hearing it. He then accepts the mission in an instant and Anima is glad, thinking that he can now show Huang He the consequences for offending him. He and his comrade were very confident that hunting Huang He would be a piece of cake with Edward's help. But can Lord Edward really deal with that zombie? The pink-haired girl asked. The green-haired man then told her that Edward was the strongest Star Crusader knight, so they ought to follow someone like him with good experience. He smiled as he glanced back to Edward while saying that Edward is a man who's even contested with the Demon Lord. Going back to the dungeon, Huang He was stitching his neck to connect it to his body. He was complaining to both ladies that it's very painful to break a waist. Both ladies were kneeling in front of him and Dorothy was blaming Alice for not willing to give up Huang He for her. "Don't forget whose territory you're on now, it's not hard to deal with you," she added, which scared Alice. Alice was sweating heavily and was shaking in fear while saying that she was indeed a bit weaker than Dorothy on this floor, but seeing Huang He makes her confident to fight against anyone. "Go quickly and dispose of this succubus for me," she ordered. Despite that, Huang He doesn't want to obey her command, but he cannot do anything to stop his body. He sunk himself to Dorothy's body and Dorothy is trying to push her away. Alice at the same time smiles and says that Huang He is worthy of being her summoned zombie. All of a sudden, a strong wailing sound of a scary monster was heard in the dungeon and both Dorothy and Alice heard it. As per Alice, it was the Lord Dungeon's master gathering signal. Upon hearing it, Alice controlled Huang He to let go of Dorothy. She said that Dorothy was lucky enough this time. After Huang He let go of Dorothy, he sweated and finally feels that he can now move on his own again. Dorothy stood and walked away while telling Alice that she hadn't given up on the little zombie of Alice and they should continue it later on. Alice also runs as she also needs to go to the dungeon master. She said that she isn't afraid of Alice and she's confident that no one can steal her zombie since it really belonged to her at first. On the other hand, Huang becomes excited thinking that it is the dungeon master who's the strongest guy in this dungeon. He was expecting that this would be his chance to court death. After a few minutes, they finally arrived at the dungeon master's palace. They were in front of an elevator and seeing this elevator made Huang He surprised and realized that this world is indeed high-tech. When he glanced beside of the elevator, he discovered that this elevator was only pulled by a monster. The three ride in the elevator and Alice warned Huang He not to screw around when he meets the dungeon master. Is he really so terrifying? Huang He asked. And according to Alice, the dungeon master is at level 65 elite boss with unimaginable strength. Huang He isn't scared of it as it gives him hope to die and go back to his original world, so he was planning to piss off the dungeon boss. They successfully entered the 7th floor, dungeon's master palace, and the lord was tapping his throne while waiting for his people. He was waiting for long and noticed that Alice and Dorothy weren't inside the hall. The dungeon master is a minotaur and as Alice said earlier, he is a level 65 Great Horn Tauren. Both the 3rd and 5th floor faced adventurer attacks. Rimuro answered. He's the 1st floor boss of the Despairing Secret Area, a level 24 hypertoxic slime. George is beside him, the 2nd floor boss of the Despairing Secret Area, a level 29 Goblin King. That fool Alice aside, how could it take so long for Dorothy to manage a few adventurers? He stated. It's about time the dungeon floor lords were replaced. Aya Jinligong said, the 4th floor boss of the Despairing Secret Area, a level 38 skeleton knight. Lilith agreed to what he said. Lilith is the 6th floor boss of the Despairing Secret Area, a level 51 vampire queen. At this moment, both Alice and Dorothy finally arrived at the hall. As they opened the door, they apologized for coming late. They were afraid to enter while Huang He was very brave to show himself. Hurry to your positions, we've got important things to discuss, the dungeon master said. When they entered, Huang He was thrilled to see the dungeon master of the Despairing Secret Area in person. At the same time, he was eager to piss off the lord so the lord would kill him in an instant. He suddenly activates all his special equipment which shocks the floor bosses. He attacked the dungeon master using the flaming aerolite and a huge explosion happened. The bosses were shocked to see someone dared to attack the lord. The dungeon master clears his throat and his eyes sparkle the moment he asks about who dares to hit him. Huang He stepped forward and answered, it was freaking me. He widely smiles and seems like he doesn't feel nervous at all. Dorothy rattled and asked the dungeon master not to be angry. At the same time, Alice covered Huang He's mouth while asking him what he had done. This zombie is owned by Alice. He's quite dumb, Dorothy stated. The dungeon master ordered him to stop giving an explanation. He stood and walked towards Alice and Huang He. Alice was nervous while Huang He was waiting to be killed by the dungeon master. The dungeon master pulled Huang He from Alice and said that Huang He is quite bold. While he was carrying Huang He felt the powerful aura of this master, but angering the master was precisely what he wanted, so he agreed to the dungeon master for saying that he was so bold. Don't blame me for this, then, the dungeon master said. Both Alice and Dorothy feel danger at this point and they are worried about what will happen to Huang He. The dungeon master swung his hand as he only got an eyeglass. He started to read a book and Huang He was confused about what he was doing. He was reading the death of Huang He, and he said that Huang He shattered the ceiling which is worth 3,000 magic crystals. The floor was also destroyed so he was charged 2,000 magic crystals. He also injured the dungeon lord. The payment of it should be 2,500 magic crystals. Plus, interrupted the meeting, so an additional 500 crystals. 8,000 magic crystals in total. Will you be paying in one go or in installments? The dungeon master said to Huang He. Huang He was shocked as he couldn't understand why he needed to pay this huge amount of magic crystals. City Lord, can't you offer a cheaper price? Alice asked. The dungeon lord pointed to their leaderboard and explained that Alice defeated the least number of adventurers last month, and he was just considering if he should deduct her salary. And now, he wasn't in favor of seeing Alice trying to defend her little zombie. Alice was already crying while asking for an apology from him. This is not right. Aren't people from the demon clan supposed to kill without even batting an eyelid? Why are you asking me to compensate you with magic crystals instead? Where is your professionalism? Huang He angrily said to the dungeon master. Lilith then said that seems like Huang doesn't even understand easy matters. She also belittles Alice for having a subordinate like Huang He. As per Jinligong, they don't choose to kill monsters since they no longer have the ability to regenerate, so once the monsters in this dungeon die, they cannot come back to life. Lilith added that if they killed Huang He, no one would pay for the broken ceiling. Huang He was annoyed and said that everyone in this demon clan is an economist. I can tell at a glance that you're dirty poor. You'll pay me back in 6 installments. Each installment will be 1,467 magic crystals, the dungeon master said while dropping Huang He on the ground. Alice was still begging him at least to give a discount, but the dungeon master won't agree. Alice was annoyed at Huang He knowing that her little zombie made her owe so many crystals. At the same time, Huang He was disappointed for failing and dying again. The dungeon master cleared his throat and asked them all to keep silent. According to him, he had everyone gather in this palace because he must inform them all of something important. He declared that the Devil King ran away again last night. Everyone was silent upon hearing it. After a few seconds, George whispered that he thought it was really something important, but it turned out that it was only because of the Devil King. Ramiro then said that it was not the first time this happened. He believes that the Devil King's guards will surely find the Devil King within after 2 days. At this moment of silence, Huang He whispered to Dorothy to ask if the Devil King ran away from home often. And as per Dorothy, it happens about thrice a month on average. The dungeon master was a little bit annoyed as he said that things weren't as simple this time. He explained that the Devil King's guards had searched 30 kilometers around the city, but unlike before, he was nowhere to be found. Everyone in the hall was shocked the moment they heard from the Dungeon King that before the Devil King ran away, he mentioned that he wanted to go to the human kingdom, which is to say that they, at the borders, might come across him. In order to make this convenient for you, I've already drawn a portrait of the Devil King, the dungeon master added while snapping his finger. Everyone, including Huang He, was staring at the portrait, but Huang He smiled upon seeing it for the reason that the portrait is a bit too abstract. Jin Ligong raised his hand and told the dungeon master that he wanted to ask one question. The dungeon master permitted him and he asked if they had the manpower to search for the Devil King since they were at the peak of adventurer season right now. The Dungeon King said that Jin Ligong had a good question as he also thought about it too, and that is the reason why he chose Alice to be in charge of the mission. Alice was nervous and shocked upon hearing it. After all, our useless Alice's only advantage is that she can summon zombies to search for the Devil King, the Dungeon Master said, and Alice reminded him that Undead Wave requires a lot of mana points. For her to accept the mission, the Dungeon Master offered her to deduct 2,000 magic crystals from her debt, and in an instant, Alice accepted the mission. Huang He was puzzled knowing that Alice is very weak in terms of battling. After the discussion, the Dungeon Master gave them all permission to leave and asked them to prepare for the task. He walked away while Huang He was asking him to give at least 2 blows to hit him. Alice panicked and ordered him to be quiet as she was afraid that the Dungeon Master would add more to her debt. The Dungeon Master looked back to Huang He, but Huang He couldn't speak since Alice covered his mouth while telling the Dungeon Master that they would now leave and look for the Devil King. While leaving, the Dungeon Master was staring at Huang He and he uttered that Huang He is a strange zombie. After they come out from the palace, Alice throws Huang He to the ground. She was so mad since she was fined so many magic crystals because of Huang He and it needs a long time to save up for it. Huang He crossed his arms and said that he didn't have any idea at first that the Dungeon Master would ask for compensation. Dorothy interfered by grabbing Huang He in her arms while saying that Alice could only scold her subordinate so she can't bear to just watch. "Stay by my side like this, okay?" Dorothy said, which made Huang He thrilled and agreed to the lady. Because of Alice's anger, she controlled Huang He once again by ordering Huang He to attack Dorothy. Huang He can't control his body so he unintentionally hits Dorothy using his small fireball. 132 is my subordinate. I'm not gonna give him to you, Alice screamed while carrying Huang He. She then walked away, pulling Huang He with her, leaving Dorothy in frustration. Dorothy's hair was burned by Huang He's flame, but she still had the guts to smile while telling herself that the Dungeon Lord doesn't know how powerful Alice's little zombie is. She was staring at Huang He and claimed that Huang He would be owned by her something. At the same time, Huang He suddenly feels cold all of a sudden. After they went back to their respective floor, Alice then summoned her undead, and several appeared. She then ordered them all to check the portrait she gave and search for the girl that was in the picture, then bring her back to her. Huang He at this time was looking at these zombies while thinking if these numerous zombies also have human abilities too. After commanding all the zombies, Alice smacked Huang He with the portrait of the devil and told him that if he cannot find the Devil King, he will be dead. "I understand," Huang He answered. He then walked away together with the other zombies and he was complaining why Alice won't find the Devil King herself. After a few seconds of thinking, he realizes that finding the Devil King also means that he can run away from Alice again. Huang He's escape route is once again clear. Huang He stands bravely while telling himself that these brainless zombies around him can't stop him from finding ways to die. He then ran as fast as he could until he arrived at a tree far away from the other zombies. He believes that he shouldn't be under Alice's influence now that he's so far away. But then, he deduces that he has only escaped Alice's control and that dying is going to be rather difficult for him. All of a sudden, someone stomped behind him. When he turned around, he saw robots and he believed that they were the magic core giant. He was so excited knowing that these robots were strong enough to kill him. Other than that, he recalls that these giants might drop a magic core that increases his mana points permanently after use, and once he can be able to obtain it, he will have a great chance to kill himself. He runs to the magic core and normally attacks it. The magic core hit him, causing him to strongly fall on the ground. Despite the pain, Huang He still smiled and admitted the fact that these magic cores were good, since attacking him will cause them damage too. He concludes that he will end up killing all these giants. Later he realizes that he was wrong. All the giants' health is still full. He was so confused, but the system informed him that tough skin cannot injure non-living things. He told himself that it was fine. He was eager to kill all these magic cores to get some mana points, and he decided to defeat them all with an avalanche of punches. He attacked once more, but the giant in the middle easily flipped him away with just its finger. "You sneaked up on me, a measly level 2 zombie. Do you guys have morals?" Huang He angrily screamed. But the magic core giants were puzzled. Unfortunately, the pink-haired lady heard Huang He's voice. She wasn't sure whose voice it was, so she told her comrades that she heard a weird sound. The green-haired man only believes that she is just nervous, and he goes to Edward while telling her not to worry since Edward is with them. "How were you defeated by a little zombie, by the way? Is the zombie really strong?" Edward asked. The green-haired man then said that the zombie they were referring to was different from other zombies. He described that it was 3 meters tall and so strong that it could send them up to the sky with a slap. The pink-haired disagreed with what he said, as she could see that this man was definitely exaggerating things. In the end, Edward completely believes the green-haired man and tells himself to take this matter seriously. "Anyway, just help me deal with that zombie. Not only will I give you enough compensation, but I'll also recommend you to my father so that you'll become a knight," Anima stated. All of a sudden, the magic core giant was running so fast, and Edward sensed that something was coming their way. He immediately warned everyone, and when they all turned their head above, they saw the 2 magic core giants. This time, Edward unleashed his sword while saying that he could now finally start fighting. He then slashes all the magic core giants and the robots' parts fly away. The magic core that Huang He mentioned earlier dropped after Edward killed the 2 giants. Edward picked it up and broke it using his fist. "I told you, we don't need to worry when Master Edward's here with us," the green-haired man said. At the same time, the pink-haired lady was impressed after witnessing how Edward easily killed level 30 magic core giants with one move. One thing she was confused about was seeing the giants earlier so panicked, and she concluded that the giant might have encountered powerful demons. So what if there really are demons? They are still no match for Master Edward. The green-haired man answered behind her. On the other hand, Edward also senses that those giants panicked while running in their direction. He deduces that the giants have encountered a demon at the Devil King level. At the same time, Huang He was fighting against the one giant. He punched it with a strong blow and it died in an instant. The system popped up and said that Huang He had leveled up to level 3. He then picks up the magic core while saying that he finally has one. He immediately cracked it in his hand and he gained an additional 10 mana points. He was so disappointed to receive a few mana points, but he still had some hope inside him. "You actually whittled that giant down with your punches," the Devil King said behind him. The king was glad to see an interesting zombie with unbelievable movement. Huang He glanced at her and believed that this lady was just a weak kid. She turned around while telling the lady to leave the place as it was too dangerous for her. The king was confused as to why Huang He didn't know her. "Why did you attack the magic core giant?" she asked. And Huang He casually answered that he needed the giant's core to increase his mana points. The king was thrilled and asked why Huang He needed more mana points if he was only just a mere zombie. Huang He declined to answer, and at this moment, a giant appeared behind the king. Huang He panicked and immediately rushed to the king to push her away. His blood splattered around and fell on the ground. The king was shocked knowing that a little zombie saved her. She assisted Huang He to get up and asked if he was fine. But then, Huang He stood by himself and angrily answered that he was perfectly fine. He also told the lady to stay behind him. "Come at me if you can," he screamed while rushing to the giants. The Devil King was thrilled as she thought that Huang He was risking his life for her. This is the first time she felt protected, that's why he cannot explain what she felt. On the other hand, Huang He was punching the giants angrily as he really wanted to die and went back to his original life as a human. After an hour, Huang He finally killed all the giants and obtained a lot of magic core. He was so happy, but because of fighting too much, he suddenly felt dizzy and fell. Luckily, the Devil King caught him. "You protected me so seriously just now. Let me help you out," the Devil King stated. She then casts her blood magic engraving curse and startled healing Huang He. Huang He's health went back to 5,862 points over 11,280, and his current mana is full. As per the Devil King, the blood magic engraving curse increases Huang He's health points so he won't die. Her eyes sparkled as she informed Huang He that there was something she needed to say. She introduced herself with the name Edith, but Huang He still didn't know her. "I'm the Devil King," Edith stated. Edit is a level 99 devil in this dungeon. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you wish to have another part of this recap, please give us at least 2,000 likes. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Until next time.